Hi, fourth grade. I'm teaching today from your desks. Justin's, Nate's, Gigi's, and Emily's desk, actually. I'm here today to review some geometry terms, lines, points, line segments, and angles. The thing about geometry is it's really important to understand the definitions, to know the definitions really well, and to be able to apply them, and also to use your imagination, okay? All right, so I have some note cards for my definitions. It could be a good idea to do some note cards. If you don't have any, you can put them on a piece of paper. That's okay. So the first one is a point, okay? Points are pretty simple. They're just points in space. They could be anywhere. They could be imaginary. It could be like the tip of your pen, okay? It's an exact location in space. We name our points. Like this one is point A, okay? We read it, point A, we write it. When we write it, we just write point A, okay? When we draw it, we just put the point and put the A, okay? Easy peasy. All right, let's talk about a line, okay? Here's a line. This is my line BC. It's a straight path of points that continue without end in both directions. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, lines could be imaginary too. So let's say I had Gianna's Spanish book and I drew a line and it just kept going, okay? So that is a line, that's a straight path, okay? All right, so let me tell you how we would write that. Okay, so when we draw it like this, okay, BC. All right, now when we write it, we are going to you're going to draw a little symbol. This is the symbol that goes on the top, okay? And then you're going to write BC right here, okay? And you're going to say line BC, line BC. That's how you write it. But guess what? Lines can go in different directions, right? So you could write it another way. So we draw the little symbol for a line with two arrows, little symbol on the top, okay? And then you could also name it CB. So this line is actually named line BC and line CB. You can name them two different ways, okay? All right, so those are lines. Let's talk about a line segment. Here's my line segment, okay? It is part of a line between two end points, okay? So, here's my line segment. Notice it doesn't go on forever, okay? Just like Gianna's Spanish book, if we were just to take one edge, it really doesn't go on forever. So it could be a line segment, okay? Here's the 2 points. All right, so this is how we would write line segment AB, okay? So you're gonna draw a little symbol on the top. It's just a little line right here, okay? And then you could say AB, okay? Then, guess what? Line segments can go different ways. So instead of saying line AB, you could also call it line BA. Line BA. I'm sorry, line segment BA. If you don't see the arrows, it's called a line segment. That's the symbol for line segment. You don't have to put the little dots, okay? Just the line. So we have line segment AB and line segment BA, okay? All right, those are line segments. Next thing we have are rays. Rays are pretty cool. They're part of a line that has one endpoint and continues without end in one direction. So think of the rays of the sun, okay? So where are my rays? Oh, here they are. So here's my ray, okay? So rays only go in one direction, so we can only name them one way. Okay, you're going to start at the end point, and then you're going to stop where it keeps going, okay? Now when we write it, The symbol for that is an arrow, okay, going one way, okay? So we're going to call this ray JK. There it is, ray JK. That's the only way to write it. That's the only way to name it. Your ray could go in another way if you wanted to. Sorry, it's hard to write like that. JK. Okay. So even if your ray is going this way, you still call it ray JK because you start at your end point and you go to where the arrow is. Okay? So that's how we write those. So they only go in one direction. All right? It's the only way to write it. Okay, and it doesn't matter what letters you put, but right now it's JK. Okay? All right. Next we have angles. Here's my angle right here. Okay, angles are actually two rays that meet together. So an angle is formed by two rays or line segments that have the same endpoint. The shared endpoint is called a vertex. Okay. All right, here we go, bigger here. Okay, here's my angle. Okay, so see how there's two rays? There were two rays that come together at an endpoint. This is called a vertex. Vertex. Okay? It's called a vertex right here. All right. So, now if you have more than one vertex, do you know what that's called? It's called a vertice. Okay. We'll talk about that later. So how do we write this angle right here? There's actually many ways to do it. You could call it, let's see, you could call it angle EFG, or you could call it angle GFE, or guess what? I know you guys like abbreviations. You could just call it angle F. So if you're only going to use one letter, you have to use the vertex. Okay? Let me show you how to write that. So you're going to call this, you're going to do a little symbol. It's a little angle symbol. It's kind of like a little L, okay? So you're going to call it angle EFG. So you call it angle EFG, okay? You could call it angle GFE. GFE. Okay, call it angle GFE. Or you can just call it angle F. You could just call it angle F. Ooh, that's hard to see. Okay. You could just call it that. Okay? All right. So when naming angles, make sure that you just don't say, oh, I'm going to call it angle GEF. No, no, no. Your vertex always has to be in the middle. Start at the end points this way, or just call it by the vertex. Okay? So that's all we're going to talk about now with lines, points, line segments, and angles. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.